Okay, what I have here are two Redcat Dukono Pros. Okay, see Redcat, and it says here Dukono, which they are. Okay, the only difference between these two, and what you would get in the ready to run is I have 17 millimeter wheels and hexes. How'd I do that, you ask? I'll have another video on my channel where I go through the whole process of converting it to 17 millimeter. And what I used is the now discontinued Terremoto 2 axles and the hubs. Well, actually hubs. I still use the Dukono axles because they're small enough. And I changed everything. But it's in my other video how I went about it. The other modification you could do on these trucks are the shocks. I'm going to show you how the stock shocks are and how the shocks that I use as replacements are, which gives way better handling and gives you the opportunity of, when driving at speed and making turns, that the truck won't tip over. So what I'm going to go do is I'm going to remove the bodies, but first I'm going to show you what replacements I used. One has the stock shocks, one has the Redcat Landslide shocks, shock absorbers, front and rear. These are that's the label. Okay, the BS 819-003A shock absorbers. Right now on Dark Moon on eBay, they're selling for $11.99 a pair, which is an excellent price. $11.99 a pair. And usually when you look around, they want $39 to $50 for a set of 4. But 20 bucks gets you 4. I have 4 right here. And it comes with everything except for screws. Use the stock screws. Let me just take the bodies off and I'll show you how it helps. I will take a tire off just to show you in a minute. But here, these are the stock shocks. See, maybe they're leaking a little. And they're very, I would say, I have heavyweight oil in there, but kind of very sloppy. I mean, look at that. They're very long. It's a very smooth shock. I mean, I don't mind it, but once you get it out there and you make a turn, you go full turn, tilt turn, and you got that torque on the rear coming like this. This truck goes like this and she'll flip right over. So I did find a home for these stock shocks. I'm using on a Corolla. I'll show you at the end how they're working on the Corolla. In fact, I had to remove the factory oil out and I use olive oil, the lightest oil, for when I want the shock to really actuate. I use olive oil and I have it on my Corolla. But I'll let you know about that at the end. Now we'll move to the Dukono Pro with the Landslide shocks. These are nice. Look, you don't need, this has so much travel, the stock. It's way too much for me. And very sloppy. This, that's it. Might have to recheck the oil on that. But it lowers the center of gravity. And then it won't lean, you see? Very stable. The stiffest springs. Okay, just hold on. Okay, this is the rear. See, the rear will squat down, but you're not, the shocks aren't long enough for the car to flip in a turn. I mean, you go into a turn, this car is not going to flip. This is going to hold the roll like it's on rails. The nice thing is your arms are level. Okay, if I pick it up like this, arms are level. That's really good. We're on this one, the arms are jacked up like that. Even if you bring it down, it's going to be jacked up like that. I mean, for on-road use, I'd rather go with the Landslide shocks. So I'm going to be converting this one. This one is already done, and I'll show you how to put the shocks on. Okay, I'm going to remove this one. Now I want to turn this around again. Okay, and look at the front here. See how nice and level it is? I mean, I've run this before with these shocks. I took them off. I put the stock ones on. So I wanted to use them, but I went back to these, and actually runs great. What's interesting about this truck, it has a lot of similarities to the Kaiju. Okay, when you look underneath, just like the Kaiju, because the drive shaft runs from here through here. There's a spur here. No differential. I wish there was. I'd love to put mod 1 gears in it, but they won't fit. And then there's the rear gearbox. So it's all under here, just like the Kaiju. Kaiju has a front plate, a center, and a rear, and the drive shaft is hidden. So we come down and we look here. The drive shaft is actually down in here. Gearbox is here with the spur. Okay, I have a 3650, 3900 kV motor there. Got my radio here. Basically, not going to run more than 3S. I'm not running 4S. I don't think I could handle 4S. It has the top chassis. This is a prelude to the Kaiju. I thought at one time they were going to discontinue this truck, but they kept it going. Also, it has a wheelie bar, which you do need with this truck. Even with 3900 kV, this will wheelie. It's not a cheap wheelie bar. It's a good wheelie bar. Actually, I'll come in closer. It has ball bearings on the wheelie bar. Okay, and it will go like this. There's enough power to bring it up. So I'll take a wheel off. I'll just briefly show you how I did the shocks and how I did the axle modification. I mean, I sent my video to Redcat. I said, hey, why don't you make a Dukono Pro with 17 millimeter hubs, which they probably have a lot of lying around from the Terramoto 2 and other cars that use them. And I know they have plenty of these shocks because they're going 2 for $11 on Dark Moon, which sells a lot of Redcat parts. Redcat, you say? Why aren't I an armor guy? I have a certain budget. Redcat meets my budget. I am not paid by Redcat. I don't get promotional deals with Redcat, but I like them. Why? Number one is quality. Number two is engineering. And number three, the ability to interchange parts. The Kaiju I like. I actually love. I think the Kaiju is one of the best trucks that they've made so far. And to give kudos to that, they just came out with the Kaiju EXT, the extended version, 2 inches larger, which hopefully next year sometime, once a chassis is available and a drive shaft, because everything else is the same on the EXT, except for the chassis, is 2 inches longer. And the drive shaft obviously has to be 2 inches longer. So it'll be interesting to do a conversion of one of my Kaijus to a Kaiju EXT just by purchasing it, a chassis and an axle. That's going to be interesting. Okay, so now I'll get back to the other car and I'll change the shocks and just show you. All right, before I do the other truck's shocks, I just want you to look at the stands. I mean, if you saw this in a catalog, would you buy it? 17-inch wheels, 1/10 scale size. Let's move it around. That's how it looks from the rear. I mean, totally mean. Let me turn this around. Let's see how it looks from the front. This is barreling down at you at 40 plus miles an hour. I mean, look at that suspension. This is a real road-hugging truck. And it's not that high. The center of gravity is low once it gets going. It's side to side is like nothing there. And it still could take the bumps. Redcat, you're watching this? You got to do this. You got the parts. I mean, it's a gimme. For the price the truck is now, all you have to do is put those axles on, Landslide shocks that you have a million of, and you got yourself, I would say, a winner. Okay, let's get those shocks on the other Dukono Pro. All right, removing the shocks are pretty straightforward, but when I have to put the Landslide shocks on, I'll just show you a few things you have to do. So let me get these front shocks off, then we'll proceed. You do not have to remove any tires. No sense in removing tires. Okay. Okay, I have the shocks side by side. This is the Landslide shock. This is the Dukono shock. Now, this longer screw was the top mounting screw on the Dukono shock. So we're going to take this and we're going to move it to the bottom here because of this piece that's right here. So it needs a longer screw. Okay, and this screw, which was the bottom mounting for the Dukono shock, is going to go now here at the top. We have one of these pieces. You want to put it inwards like this, okay, and then the screw's going to go in. What I like to use are, okay, I have one rear and one front mounted. This is the rear. Okay, that's the Landslide shock, see? A little bit stiffer. Okay, that's the Dukono shock. Has a lot of travel, Okay. You can see one side is softer. Okay, now on the rear, I like to use the top outer. And down here, you can see that outer hole I use on the rear just to give it a little preload because the battery kind of sits towards the back. I use the inner hole. Now on the front, because we don't want it to sit too high, we use the outer hole. And we use the outer hole here. And again, here's the front. I mean, if I'm going on road, even if I'm bashing, this is enough shock travel. You don't need this gigantic, I mean, high center of gravity, flip me over shock travel. Okay, let me get everything else done and I'll show you the result. Okay, the fronts are done. I have the Landslide shocks on this Dukono. Fronts are done. Like I was saying, you have to use the longer screw here because of this piece on the Landslide shock. Yeah, you're going to get that little bit of a canted angle. But again, we're level. The arms are level. Even when you pick it up, the arms are level. These are the new ones with the oil that comes with it. So they're pretty impressive. I'll just tell you, Redcat shocks, any shocks that are on Redcat vehicles are excellent shocks. I don't know about other companies, even though these are plastic body and metal top caps. They have the rings here. I like to bring the rings all the way down, which I'll do now. Okay, I'm gonna bring this ring down. No, I'll see how it drives on road. If I have to, then I'll bring them up. But I mean, this is stiff. This is what you want. You want this. You don't want sloppiness. Okay, the back is done. Like I said, we're going to use the inner hole on the bottom. I did on both sides. And we're going to use the outer hole on the top. Again, pretty level. Okay. Now, we want that preload because they're going to have a battery here. Okay. The front's nice. And it has that low squat. Let's get that body on. See if it looks like the other one. Yeah, I know. Why do I have to? I was watching this other YouTuber, and they asked them. It's like a compulsive thing. I have to. I mean, I like these trucks enough that I have to. Okay, there we go. There's our look. We got that nice, really street look back with these landslide shocks. Really good. I'm telling you, these shocks are excellent. One day I'll do a video on my landslide. If you get, I would say this. I like the ZD racing stuff, the Pirate 2. I like the Pirate 3 with the extras and the wheelie bar. But when it comes down to it, my favorite trucks that I like and that I buy and that parts, they're right in Texas. You sign up, I go right to the Redcat website. I look up the part I need. The fun part too is looking up discontinued or clearance parts because you get some really good deals. And also Dark Moon. Again, a plug. They don't give me anything. But Dark Moon has tons of parts at really good prices. I mean, even these tires you could find at a great price. Even the Landslide tires you can find at a great price. They even have now Kaiju tires on eBay at a great price. $39 for 2 or $39 for 4. I can't remember. Kaiju's going to be another project when I get that extended chassis. But all in all, this is a main sitting truck. I mean, it's low slung. It's like a stadium race truck. These big wheels, these 17 millimeter hubs and hexes.